Light the beam, because it's time for Nerdy for 30, the podcast where we talk about nerdy-ish movies for 30-ish minutes. My name is Kevin Bauer, a.k.a. The Critic's Choice. With me, as always, is the People's Champ, Tim Keck.
If you feel it, chase it, baby.
If you feel it, chase it. And today, we are talking about Kalki 2898 AD, and we have a very special guest with us. They have written for HBO Max. You may know them as a co-founder of Many-Sided Media. It's Shenuque Tissera.
Hey, it's
Shenuque.
me.
Yes.
Thank you so much for being here. We've wanted to have you on the show for a long time. We have made it over the digital, parasocial relationship that we had earlier this year.
Yeah.
We have not seen each other in person once since.
Which is partially my fault. I did say I was going to come to your improv hang, and I fully have dropped the ball this summer.
No, it's all good. I gave Abby COVID. I shut down a nice weekend we all had planned. No, I had nothing to do with that.
I was like, I thought that was Brian.
Let's
all
hash
Brian.
this out.
Let's hash this out right now. But it's wonderful to see your face here on this Zoom. Thank you so much for being here.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. I noticed, so we sent out a couple of episodes. You jumped on this one. So
Yeah.
do you have an existing relationship with the director Nag Ashwin or with Prabhas, or just stoked to see this movie in general?
So yeah, I think when you sent because I jumped up, you changed the movie, and I was in Greece, saw the email, was like, I gotta jump on this bad boy. Part of it's I just have discovered Bollywood films, and I'm a 30-year-old Sri Lankan man who has had plenty of access to Bollywood, and just within the past year have started watching Bollywood films. So once I saw Kalki, I was like, oh, I got to see this. And then RRR has been a film that white people have told me to watch. It's just oh my God. Everyone.
Probably both of us.
Yeah, Tim and Kevin have both texted me about that film and you have to watch RRR. And so once I saw Kalki, I was like, oh, that's I should watch this. It looks really cool. And yeah, that's basically why I hopped on. I was like, I need to culture myself. I've been only watching Western films done by white men. And I'm like, I should watch Eastern films done by brown men. No women, brown men.
Yeah, baby steps.
Yeah.
Really moving in baby steps here.
Yeah.
And then get on the pod to talk to these white guys about it.
Closing the loop.
We've covered a few Bollywood, Tollywood films. And I think every time we show our ignorance, but, people come out in the comments, email us, reach out, feel free to educate on this, because as far as I'm concerned, these are just badass movies.
Yeah.
This movie is awesome. Honestly, this movie pissed me off so much finding out at the end that it was a part one. Are you kidding me? I was livid. I had no idea. God, I was so invested in this world. And then it's just, sometime in the future you're getting this. I would not have agreed to watch this movie if I'd known it was a part one. We should have waited, because now I'm hanging on. What's going to happen?
That's so real. Tim, you summed up my exact experience with it. With an hour left, I was like, there's no way they're going to wrap this up. There's only an hour left. This is there's only been one musical number. There needs what is going on?
I feel like it took me even longer somehow. It was in the back half hour. It was when the car turned into a mech gorilla. I was like, this can't be the final fight, though. They still haven't taken down the Supreme guy. What's going on? And then that realization dawning it sucked so bad. For the Bahubali movies, I think it took over 5 years total for both of them. And it's
Jesus.
Yeah, didn't they make a joke about that in this movie?
They did, yeah. So that was something I've been hyping this up on the pod as a movie directed by S.S. Rajamouli from RRR. Turns out I had received misinformation. He's just in the movie in that chase scene in the desert.
Yeah.
When he's like, if I catch you, I'm going to lock you up for 5 more years, which super fun,
Yeah. And this movie took 3 or 4, I think. It was a COVID pandemic casualty, and they just had to spread it all out. And sounds like it was crazy, but dang. It's so good. And I think for that last hour, I think the thief for me is Prabhas. This dude is amazing. He is a star. When he's on screen, I'm in. I don't care what he's doing. I don't care if he's taking a nap with some old guy in the same bed. I'm here for it. I want to see how it turns out. He's the man. He's incredible. And I feel like the parts of the movie that dragged a little for me were the ones he wasn't in. And then in that last hour, once he's like woven into the rest of the story, God, that last hour is so cool, so fun. Like it's all coming together. And then it's a part one. My God. My God. I was so jacked. I was so jacked in this movie. It's just another banger. Another banger.
So good. It's so fucking good. I feel like I was like for the first like hours, like there's like too many threads. Like there's no way they're gonna close any of these loops. There's too much going on. I don't know who's who. And then like, I don't know, 30 minutes, like after 30 minutes, so like an hour, like 90 minutes in, you're like, oh, they got this. They locked it all up. I see, like, I don't see how it's gonna come together, but it fucking does. It does. I feel like, what was the moment when, like they finally like revealed the, like who had the baby and like that was the baby. I was like, shit, I don't know how she's going to get out of the fucking like complex jail shit. Oh, it fucked me. It fucked me so hard.
Once they put the bounty on her, I was like, it's go time. Oh my gosh. Probus is en route. Everyone's heading their way. This is what, and then the action just kicked up a notch. So good. So fun.
Real quick, while we're talking about that, like the status of all the like mother stuff in the complex, can we talk about the fucking fire pit? Like this movie is hard.
That was fucked up.
This movie's hard. This movie's crazy. It's so intense. They're just like, they've got a bunch of women locked up, and if they can't get pregnant, they're dumped in the fire pit. It's wild.
Like, I feel like if I had a uterus watching this movie, I'd be like, oh, this is terrible. Like, this is horror. I mean, it is horrifying, but like even more so of like, holy fuck. Like, just fully the way of like, also, but like to the tones of like the hyper capitalism and like the uber rich like stealing all the resources and like letting the have-nots fight for whatever's left, and like really like just such good like tonal critique of like the world, and also like superhero movies and just like gender, but like also like there were two badass women in this film and they both die almost immediately, which was like, what the fuck, guys, come on. God.
Utara, or I'm gonna mess up her name, but I think it's played by Malkiva Nair. She was like my other thief of like, Probus is this beacon of positivity and just good vibes and energy. And when he's not there, it's not the same. But she was like the only other person bringing that vibe to the screen. And the part where she's in the van consoling them, and then she starts fighting, and she's got that weird like motorcycle that shoots out and she jumps on. She was electric for that. I mean, she was badass in this movie. God,
she was sick.
So cool. Yeah. You guys got any thieves? Obviously, Probus, the man. Utara.
Yeah.
Anything else? Have I missed anything else? Is like,
I think I thought Disha Patini would have more of a bigger role. Like she came in as Roxy, was so fucking hot. I was like, oh my God,
crazy.
This is the most beautiful person ever. And then she's like in the movie for like 15 minutes. And then that's it. I was like, oh, she's gonna like, she's like cooler and better than Probus. Like clearly like has something over him, but just was a hot 15-minute fling.
Yeah. It felt very, I don't know. Have you guys both watched Cowboy Bebop?
Yeah.
It very much felt like a Cowboy Bebop type thing where he's had these hookups over time, and there were some women that kind of come in and out of his life, and it just felt like these two clearly had some kind of a history. When they both got to go into the complex, it was a blast.
Yeah, and then like he like convinced her to like give up her job to go fuck around in the complex. Like, like so much of this movie is unearned, but I'm giving it to them anyway. Like there's so many moments of this is so dumb. Like the first fight scene when he's like saving Luke was his name or whatever, like the first bounty, and like the people with guns are just like walking towards him and not shooting. It's like this isn't real. This can't be real life. Like they have guns. Why are they like approaching him to like dagger distance to then let him kick his like there? So much unearned, but still so like it was like I don't care because I want to see Probus kick some ass. Like it's great.
Yeah,
the tone is interesting. Like with it feels fourth wall breaky. Am I crazy? I was like I couldn't tell if it was like a little like a language thing where I'm like maybe just not interpreting things right, but it sounded like they were talking about things, or Probus at least had lines that were kind of like self-referential in a way that I thought was kind of not typical for a character in a movie.
Yeah.
To sound like.
There's the Bougie thing where the line from Bougie where he gives his backstory and then the person's like, oh my God, that's so impressive. And Bougie's like, ask him again in 15 minutes. I'll give you a totally different backstory.
Yeah.
Like they definitely play with that.
Totally. It's giving like a lot of like Deadpool or like Guardians of the Galaxy energy of like a type of like ambivalent hero-esque vibes. And also breaking the fourth wall of like even like the joke between like the 5-year joke, like that was totally a moment of like, this isn't for anyone in the film, it's for the audience.
Yeah. Which is a ton of fun. Like, again, I know this could just end up being 30 minutes of us talking about how great Probus is. But to lean into that, I was thinking about that specifically, Shenuque, because I feel like the two of us both like to play the exact same kind of D&D character, which is just stir up as much shit as you can.
Yeah.
Play total mischief. And the way that he plays this character is perfect for it. His funny moments are so funny. The looks, when he's looking longingly out the window at the complex, I just started fucking cracking up when he shows up on the back of the ship and he's in like the pose by a fireplace. Unreal. And then he can play the action moments perfectly and he can play the drama perfectly as well. And so I just really, I don't know. I feel like he is exactly the type of character that either one of us might just like unleash on a D&D campaign.
Yeah. I mean, what Probus does with the character's name is Bhairava, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think it's like exactly what I always try to achieve when I'm playing any tabletop role-playing game. And I fall far from the mark because it's just so masterfully done. And like the comedies, the physicality, the way lines are delivered, like it transcends language. Even like the Hindi is funny. I don't know what the fuck they're saying. Like it's such like, not to make this let's suck Probus's dick 30 minutes, but so good.
I would love to, though. That's 30 minutes well spent as far as I'm concerned. I have a Probus character question for you guys, because his whole thing is getting into the complex, and then he gets Roxy to get him in for an hour, and he goes on this whole thing. He knows where to go. He goes to this floor. He's in this whole different world. He's running around. How many times has Probus been in the complex? Do you think when he went with Roxy, it was for the first time? Because he talks about the complex in a longing way. Oh, just a minute. Pretty similarly before Roxy takes him and after Roxy takes him. All he wants to do is go to the complex, and he's still longing and he's looking up and it's all that. And it seems like the taste he got barely quenched his thirst. He's still starving out there to get back.
Right.
I was wondering if he's been there before.
I think this was his first time.
Yeah.
I actually noted that as like a really fun way to play that kind of an angle, because one thing that's a challenge in any kind of a narrative is when a character achieves something that they've wanted for a long time, it's inherently going to change them. So what do you do with that character when that one thing that they've wanted has finally been satiated? And it was so funny to me how before he was like, I just got to get in the complex. It's amazing, the complex. I know it's going to be amazing, the complex. And then he gets in and he's like, I just got to get back in the complex. It was amazing in the complex.
Yeah.
Like he's like taking a bite out of an orange straight up. Like, there's no way he was there before.
Right. I feel like the curiosity of him to like go do all those things, sneak in, like it kind of like it felt like the first time, but I also get what you're saying, Tim, of like, he's like, the complex feels like such a large place. Like you could go in for 60 minutes at a time and only get through like 2% of it. But like to go on like the whole, like the way they built the world, I think the complex becomes this whole, like everyone talks about it, like wants to be there. Like that's what every character who's outside the complex seemingly wants outside of like the rebels. And so like, it felt like a cool, like character wise for Probus of like, oh yeah, of course he wants to, like this makes complete sense. And like all of his morals and decisions kind of revolve around that one experience, which is helpful to, I guess, to wrap it. Yeah, whatever. I'm rambling, but yeah.
Hey, that's all podcasting is, man. Rambling away.
Hell yeah. I think probably the closest thing I had to a beef. What do you think about how much stuff they had in Shambhala? Because it seems like even though it's kind of played as like a rags versus riches thing, the rags had a ton of technology at their disposal. Absolutely crazy tech. Did they have too much?
But did they have wealth?
Yeah.
Did they have a surplus? Were they living their best lives? It's still pretty barren. There's a tree that supports the whole thing, and the tree's dead. They don't even have grass. I mean, it looks like they're eating and they've got guns, but are they having crazy dance parties like they did in the complex? I thought it kind of bounced out, but you are right that it's in between these two places is just desolation. There's nothing available between these two institutions, it seems like. So it is interesting.
Yeah. Who knows how sustainable that place is? Like, we can call on the scientists and figure it out. But I think like one line that helps with that was when like Roxy and Barava are both in the complex for the first time. And like Roxy explains like, oh, this thing sucks out the energy from the earth to like power the complex. So like it felt like Shambhala and like the rebels are fighting not just like for wealth, but just like for restoration of the planet. More so than like, I mean, I don't know. They're going to win and there's still going to be like wealthy, rich assholes taking everything, right? So it's more of like, the earth should be green while that happens, right?
Yeah. But they do have like their own technology too. They've got their own weapons. They've got their own style with things. It is like a completely
they do
different
have uniforms.
society.
You're right.
Yeah, the uniform scene was so funny where the guy comes in and he's just like, to the scientist, like, you've all got uniforms. Like, why isn't this job done? Like, some of the jokes in this are so good, man.
I didn't expect it to be funny. I think that was the thing is
It's
when
funny.
Bhairava first shows up, it was the first thing. The scene thousands of years ago was really cool. And then the flash forward to 2898, I was like, I mean, okay, I don't know about this though. And then when Bhairava first shows up, I'm like, oh, this rocks. Okay, I get it. Like, we're going to have fun in this world. And God, yeah, some of the bits were so fucking good.
Yeah, so fucking good.
I had this one written down when Bhairava, at the end of the movie in the final fight, when Bhairava and Ashwatthama are fighting and their fists collide. And then Bhairava just has to kind of like go walk it up for a minute.
Yeah.
That's so good.
It's so funny.
Oh, fuck.
So funny.
It's like, God damn, this old man.
He's awesome. Like, I guess, I feel like that's like clowning work, you know, like Ryan Reynolds in Deadpool where he's got the mask on and it's just like all this physicality. Like, Prabhas can just turn it on where he struts away and it's shakes it off and it's like perfect.
Totally.
It's just perfect, like Bollywood energy. It's so good.
Yeah.
It fits the vibe. He can sing, he can dance, he can kick ass, and it all just seems like it's natural, which is mind blowing to me as someone who watches American movies all the time. And, you know, most of the time you got to pick a tone and stick with it.
Yeah.
And he can just kind of do whatever he wants, which is kind of what makes all these Indian films incredible to me. Is it's just, they're just chasing the vibes. Like, we feel like singing right now. You know? We feel like an action scene right now. We're gonna get serious right now, and it all works. And you don't get that in typical American movies.
Wait, yeah, Tim, I'm so happy you said that, because I feel like American films do not filmed musical theater does a bad job of like trying to do what Bollywood films do so well, of like integrating, like, I think in this film was maybe a bit forced, but like in a lot of Hindi films, integrating like a music video style portion of the film, but like it helps continue narrative rather than just being like kind of wild and crazy and kooky for like 3 minutes and like, all right, back to talking, blah, blah, blah. And also just want to point, like, give Amitabh Bachchan his flowers of like, I think like Prabhas can do so much because of how stoic and like grounded Ashwatthama is played at times. And like the contrast is so juicy and so good. Like, it really lets that character be silly, goofy, dumb while like you're still held into the stakes by like how serious Ashwatthama is. And like just like, I got to save this lady and the world and God.
Yes.
That's a very good point. Believable deity, which is tough.
He is a believable deity.
Yeah. Hard to play God. Real hard to play God.
We have a segment we do sometimes on the show. Thought might be interesting for this one is money well spent. And I just looked at the budget for this film. And I mean, we're talking about two different countries. We're talking about America. I looked up some American films to compare and Indian films. And, you know, it's two different economies. So this might not translate, but I feel like it's interesting, specifically when it comes to CGI, because the CGI in this is not always good. In fact, I wouldn't say the CGI is great in this at all, but it's consistent and it seems like a choice and it's intentional. And they kind of establish, I think, for whatever reason, I'm fine with it in this movie. They set the bar. This is as good as it's going to get. And it's like, cool. And then the rest of the movie, they do enough. There's moments when Probus is like flying through the air and he flips and the camera flips and he pushes off of something. And it looks kind of bad, but also it's good enough, though. And it just conveys what's happening. And I'm not having any questions about where they are in the space. So it's still accomplishing the goal, but within maybe a budgetary constraint or something like that. So I don't know. This movie was $72 million American to make. And just bringing out some random American examples. Of course, Madam Web covered it on the pod. 80 million. God. That's a movie that looks like absolute trash. And I would take this movie. I would take Kalki over Madam Web. Visuals alone in this. I think this is so much more interesting and expressive and all that. So 80 million. Rebel Moon, Netflix. That movie sucks. It looks like ass. $166 million.
Holy dick.
Yeah.
Yeah. And there's 8 extra hours if you feel like struggling through it. But sure. Yeah. 166 million. Does this movie look that much better than or worse than Rebel Moon? I don't think so. I feel like this movie looks great and the vibe's good. Furiosa. This one's maybe personal. I did not love this movie. I think the graphics and CGI in this sucks. Cars can drive in the desert. Just put some cars in the desert. Why are you making the computer do it? $168 million in Furiosa. Oof. There's ships in this movie. There's space battles. They have all these things and it looks cool. I get it. I loved it. This is the one that I think is the most interesting, and maybe we could discuss. Rise of Skywalker, $416 million. Rise of Skywalker is the worst Star Wars movie. I think a lot of people, I don't think I'm talking out of school when I say that movie is shit. And I don't think it looks great. And just to compare, I feel like Star Wars is just the closest analogy to this, right? Yeah,
totally. Like,
and if you're just comparing Kalki to Rise of Skywalker, I'm in on Kalki, man. I don't know. It's Rise of Skywalker might look better. There's more money behind it. You'd think it would be drastically better, and I don't think it is. I think I'd go with this. Am I crazy? Am I on track?
I think that's on point. Rise of Skywalker's living off of the name of Star Wars, whereas like Kalki, I'd take Kalki any day.
And this is a whole new world. It's all different technology. They have a motorcycle in that shoots out like a gun, and then you hold on and the cable attaches. And again, it doesn't look amazing, but it looks good enough to get the point across. And the ideas are so fresh, and it just feels like they're maximizing everything they have. They're playing within their limits and they're maximizing that out. And it's, I just find that so much more impressive than some of these big budget, American films. It's
that's
like
the thing, though.
They could learn something from this.
It's idea first. That's what makes it all work. Like, that's the thing where it's like some of this stuff that like looked a little shaky CGI wise in RRR too. It's like the idea behind it was so sick that it doesn't matter. Like, they managed to put the idea in your brain. The one I always think about this with comics is, I don't know if you've ever watched the One Punch Man anime, but the manga for that started, the author of it can barely draw. Like, the art is not like good by any technical means, but the idea was so good, and that like manga in general was so funny that they ended up pairing him up with an actual manga artist and then re-releasing all the volumes with like quote unquote real art.
Oh shit.
But that never would have happened if the guy hadn't gone out there with an idea he knew was good, just trying his best with it. And this one, I mean, I think it's dead on. There's some ideas in here that are so cool. One that stood out to me was when Bhairava was a child, the fact that they noted that he was indifferent to violence. And it's like, not indifferent, but like seemed like he understood the weight of violence already. And like, it's so interesting for somebody who is reborn and has had prior exposure to it. And so it's like, it's this amazing little piece of foreshadowing that's like so much more fun than all the stuff they did with like Rey's questionable lineage in the Star Wars movies until ultimately somehow Palpatine returned.
Which is incredible.
Incredible. And like, did you guys see that coming? Did you guys see like the reincarnation arc of like Karn and Bhairava and like that? I didn't. I didn't see that. I was like, oh, that's sick.
I thought that was where we were going.
Yeah,
okay.
I had an inkling.
We covered Bahubali on our podcast, which I think was Promis's previous movie. That's the one he was locked into for 5 years. And there are some themes like that I think kind of follow through, where there's a real connection to the past and reincarnation and being revived as a former self, like being presented in the present. And I thought that was super cool. I mean, the other trend I thought, I'd be curious if you feel this way about other Bollywood films, is their type of hero, or the type of hero in the few movies we've watched is kind of spotless almost, you know, like he's crushed by something. He gets up, brushes himself off, and he's fine again. And it seems like he's just kind of untouchable, even when he's getting his ass kicked. Right.
Yeah.
And
totally
a different vibe. But I was watching like John Wick the other day. It's like he's getting cut, he's getting shot. I mean, he's unrealistically, you know, heading forward despite all these crippling injuries. But it's kind of fun to just see a guy like he is a deity kind of already, just as the protagonist or as the hero in this. And I don't know. I'm curious if that's like a trend in other movies like this.
That's so interesting. I mean, like, yeah, I haven't watched enough to like be like, yeah, definitely. But like, I think it's all like, yes, that does that. Like the idea of like being spotless and like untouched and clean after being pummeled is like consistent. Could also just be like a makeup department thing, but also like seems to track. And also like I'm trying to like think of like American movies where like, are there heroes that just get fucked up? But no, like Captain America gets his ass whooped. Like it's consistent throughout. So
the
I never even
breaks,
thought of that.
The mask comes off.
Yeah. Spider-Man gets his ass kicked a bunch. Iron Man dies. Like it's, yeah, I don't know. It feels, like, and I think like, what is the direct, like, not that there should be a comparison, but like, if there was like a Western equivalent to like Bhairava in this movie, like, is there even one hero that we have that like is vaguely like that?
The closest I could get that I was thinking of, not technically Western, but definitely embraced by Western audiences, is Goku from Dragon Ball.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Which I was looking into this too to see if there was any kind of like known overlap mythologically between Karn and Sun Wukong from Journey to the West, where like, you know, the classic like anime protagonists, they all seem to be basically based on Sun Wukong. And so nobody has noted anything, because when he came out and he was in the gorilla mech too, I was like, oh, this would kind of make sense, because he's like, you know, he's very powerful, but he's also very playful. And nobody's.
Yeah. Damn.
Gorilla mech is great too, because it's like, you're right with the ideas. I think that's it. The idea is driving the car, and it's everything else can catch up. It's not just a mech, it's a gorilla mech. That's so cool. And it's the car, but it's a talking car, and it's got all these things. And also it's like falling apart, and the wheel, he's got these, he can like kind of fly, but he's got these boots, but he needs to charge them.
Yeah.
It's just everything is a fun idea.
Yes. Fuck.
Yeah. It's great. It's so cool.
They made a god and made him like relatable to a human. Like, yeah, he doesn't charge his like boots. Like, like I don't touch my fucking phone. Like, it's like we can all be that guy. That's us. We can be that guy.
Yeah. There's somebody, an old friend of mine brought this up one time when we were having a dinner. I think at the time we were in our like mid-20s, but he brought up the idea of like, you know, I'm about in the age range where if I was going to suddenly discover I had superpowers, now would be about when it happens. And he was saying it with like a very hopeful energy. And I think that's like another big wish fulfillment here too. Is like when that staff falls in his hand and it's like, oh yeah, that's right, I'm an ancient god reborn. Imagine if you just found that out because the right object made its way in your hand.
Still waiting for that Hogwarts letter, man. Still waiting for Mjolnir to find its way to me.
Dude, you're going to get your Hogwarts GED. There's you're not going to have you in classes with the rest of everybody else.
I'll be going to night school at Hogwarts. In line with a bunch of 15-year-olds.
college.
Oh my god!
I'm the only one driving to work after.
So I went to Ohio State. We had this program called the Golden Buckeyes, where anybody who's retired can come back and take classes for free. So like if you went to Ohio State and you're retired, you can come back and like sit in on classes for free. And a friend of mine took a class about the history of the 1960s, had a Golden Buckeye in the class who would chime in regularly and be like, that's not how I remember it. Just derail the entire history class.
That's so funny.
I'll be that guy at Hogwarts, but I'll just be like, guns would have fixed this.
Yeah.
Voldemort's a problem. Well, someone would have shot him already in America, probably. I don't know.
That's so funny.
What are we doing all these spells for?
You idiots.
But, yeah. So many made so many Hogwarts references already on this on our pods lately. Any other fire takes? Kevin, Shenuque, got any other beefs or thieves you want to get out?
Beefs. I think this is just like, I think more American films should be 3 hours long, but like in a fun way, not like not like they try to be sometimes.
Could have used an intermission, I think.
Just get Netflix with ads. Just get Netflix with ads, and then you're good.
That's the trick.
I would love I do love an intermission in the middle of a long movie like this. Like one of my dream screenings. We would love to do, if you're listening to this podcast and you have a venue where we could do this, we want to do screenings. We have some loaded. And one of my dream ones is like RRR, where you do the first half, you have dinner for everybody, and you come back in for that second half. Like if it's a good 2 halves, then that suspense building for the second half is so nice.
Dinner in between. That's so fun. Yeah,
that's very
just
good.
do it at a Regal and then go to Domaki like in between.
Yeah,
be nice.
You could probably do that with a Nighthawk or something.
Yeah, that'd be nice. I was trying to think of like, because I mean, one of my dreams has been to watch like, Jaws or Night Swim in a pool.
Mm.
I'm trying to think of what the equivalent would be for this movie. If it would be, I don't know, like in a complex or something. Maybe like like 10 people from the theater get treated really, really well, and then like the middle 80% are like don't get any food, no water, nothing, and then we've got 5 in the corner that are like plotting a rebellion. And maybe we just kind of nurture that energy in the theater, create a real yeah.
Just watch it outside Elon Musk's house. You're good.
Yeah,
that'd be fucking awesome. I think we could still do this one in a pool too. We would just have to have that like supreme guy hovering over one end of it.
Kills one person. One person dies that night.
Just exactly.
That's true. We got to make the water all golden or whatever, and just do like green shots, like green Jello shots or whatever that thing was. He's putting.
Oh, the serum. Yeah,
the serum. Dang, that serum worked too. That guy's crazy. What a great, just like mysterious villain that I knew he was going to get jacked. I saw him. I was like, this dude's going to get jacked. He's going to kick ass. It's only a matter of time, man. He's like, Superman's been out of the sun too long. That dude's a raisin. That dude's a raisin. He's about to be a grape. We're going to see it happen.
Incredible.
Man.
Wow. Well, Shenuque, again, thank you so much for joining us on this one.
Yeah,
do you have anything you want to plug on the way out the door?
If you like tabletop role-playing games, check out My First Dungeon, a many-sided media production. We have other shows that involve tabletop role-playing games, but that one I'm on most of the time.
Yes.
Hell yeah.
Nice.
It's a great show. I can personally vouch for that. I love all the different games you've played. And I bought a couple of them.
Oh, hell yeah. And shout out Kevin. He's the guy that kind of inspired me to start playing tabletop role-playing games. So thanks a bunch, man.
Still insane to me.
What have I inspired you to do?
To watch this, to be browner. That's what Tim did. Tim made me a browner man.
Good.
I'm really embracing my culture because of Tim.
Too much mayonnaise on the sandwich. You're like, I got to get out of here.
Oh boy. Listener, what did you think of Kalki? Let us know.
Oh
what do you think? There we go. What do you think is going to happen in the second half? Let us know. Send us an email, nerdy430@gmail.com. We will read it on the show. Shenuque, please join us again for the second half, and also just before that. Like we'll get you back on again soon. This is great.
Yeah, the second half will be in 25 years.
Yeah, we're all gonna look like the Supreme guy, just totally wrinkled up. Oh boy. We'll be back here again next week. Until then, stay nerdy, everybody. Bye.
Stay nerdy. Bye.